What's up, people? Welcome to another episode of DIY with that Eli Guy. I'm Eli, and I like to DIY. Today, we're back in the bathroom. When I first bought this cottage, this bathroom kind of sucked. This is the original flooring that I'm standing on. We had some pretty old cabinetry. The ceiling was a mess. Fluorescent lighting with tin foil as a reflector. It was pretty weird. But I did the ceiling last summer. I added some trim. I redid the walls. It's coming together. But today's project, we're working on the floors. Right now, it is just a vinyl flooring, the kind that you can just roll out in a sheet. We're gonna replace it with the old LifeProof, also vinyl, but it's a vinyl plank flooring. What I like about this stuff is it's supposed to be waterproof, it won't scuff easily, and generally, it's life-proof. We'll see. Anyways, let's get into it. Let's put down some flooring. Stop talking, Eli. Let's do this. I've already taken out the vanity. I took out the toilet. I took out the baseboard heating that was in here. We're pretty much ready to go. Let's open up this bad boy and see what it looks like. I know what you're thinking. What is a good looking cat like me doing in on a Friday night, right? Well, you're probably not thinking that, but I live up the cottage right now, and then in the summer I rent it out, and in between, I just go exploring. So while I'm in cottage mode, I try to get as much DIY stuff done as possible. So here we are. There is no instructions. Perfect. You know what that means? We wing it. Just kidding. There's some here in the back. Here's some instructions. Step 1. The owner is advised to be at home during the installation. Check. After careful perusing of the instructions, it turns out I was right. I need to remove the old vinyl flooring. It's got to be level within 1/4 of an inch, and I don't know if that's exactly 1/4 of an inch, but let's just remove it. Alright? You got to go through and cut the bottom of the door frame so that the boards can slide under. I also need to sweep up the dead flies, apparently. I don't know. So picky! The tools you're going to need for this is a tape measure, a square, a utility knife, a tapping block, 1/4 inch spacers, and a rubber hammer. I'm not sure if I have a rubber hammer, and 1/4 inch spacers, I'm gonna have to figure something out. I do believe 1/4 is actually 1/4 of an inch, so, you know, worst case, I can throw some change around. I got distracted by basketball. I haven't really decided what I'm gonna do for a transition yet. Maybe I'll stick with the gold. So it was glued down. It's just, maybe because it's old, it's not that sticky, but it's coming up pretty easy. What's up, people? We're back here in the bathroom working on the floor. Now if you're like me, you like 2 things. Oranges and recycling. I couldn't find shims, and it got me thinking, what the hell am I going to use this shim? Wow, turns out these orange boxes that you don't know what to do with, I was just gonna burn them. They work out pretty well. All these sides here are 1/8 of an inch. So I ripped apart one of the boxes, I'm gonna glue them together, boom, 1/4 inch shim. Also delicious. I also told you last night, oh, if you're out of ideas and you don't have anything to use quarters. They're 1/4 of an inch. I couldn't have been more wrong. They're not even close, and thank God. If they're 1/4 of an inch, you'd have to have a massive wallet. Turns out, each one of these quarters is a 1/16, meaning if you want to make it a 1/4 inch shim, you need to use 4 of them, which is cool. I've done it before. All I did was take 4 quarters like so, use a little tuck tape, wrap it around, 1/4 inch shim. Raid your kids' piggy bank, raid your girlfriend's wallet, raid your boyfriend's wallet. Don't have any friends? Check the couch. If not, just go around your house, find something small, around 1/4 inch, we'll use it as a shim. I used the quarter trick when I did the fake shiplap here behind me, and it was perfect. I could space out the boards, and I could paint around them, and if I got a little paint on the tape, it didn't matter. At the end, you just rip it off, boom, 50 cents, you're rich. Head to the corner store, that is 10 big feet. I just did that math in my head. No big deal. Alright, let's make up these shims and get it done. Little arts and crafts here. Now I'm using No More Nails by LePage, but I think any liquid nails or even wood glue would work. Alright, we'll let these dry and I'll cut underneath the door. Now to do that, it says to use a scrap piece of flooring. I don't have a piece of scrap flooring yet, so I just compared it. It's about a 1/4 inch thick as well, so I'm just gonna make sure that I have a 1/4 inch underneath the doors here. I'm gonna use this. It suggests using a handsaw, which obviously you could use. I'm lazy, so I want to use a power tool. I don't know if that's exactly what this is for, but that's what I'm gonna do. I'll mark my 1/4 inch. Now I just try and cut that line. Boom. Perfect cut. Okay, I think I got this all prepped now. I added a couple pieces in here just to level it off. If you read the instructions, what it says is you don't basically want to have any piece of the flooring that is less than 8 inches. So if I started with this board here and I went to the end, the last piece would be about 4 inches long. So I'm going to cut off a chunk here. I'm going to cut off 17.5 inches here. So that gets us to about here, and then I will start my row, and then I'll go from there. Also, a tip I found online was to, on the first row, to just use your utility knife and just take off the tongue of the board. That way, you get a true 1/4 inch from the edge. That's where our shims come into place. We basically, you want to make sure on all the edges, anything vertical, that there's a 1/4 inch, like so, so that there's room for the boards to expand. And then you'll just cover those gaps with trim. Anyways, let's just start. Now, I've never actually done this before in terms of scoring it. I've always just cut stuff with a saw, but... So, I measured out the distance I wanted, which is 17.5 inches. I marked it with a pencil. And now I'll score it. I don't even think you have to mark it with a pencil, but I did anyways. We'll leave that piece, and hopefully that can be our end piece on one of them. I'm going to cut off the tongue. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut off the tongue on the side of this piece. I'm going to trim the tongue on the first row here so that it's just the width of the door. And then I'm going to cut this board down so it fits in this gap. Looks pretty good to me. I still got to figure out what I'm going to do for the transition, but one step at a time. Okay, so I cut around the toilet down here. What I did was took a piece of paper, put it over top of the floor flange that was there. I snapped a couple of the vinyl planks together, and then I just put this on top, traced around the paper cutout to give me a rough shape, and then I cut it out. I used, again, this. I don't even know what it's called, to be honest with you, but I find it super handy for like making more precise cuts, and it went through the vinyl like butter. So sometimes when you go to click them together, you'll see that there's a little bit of the gray showing, and it could be a little tricky. You got to get it up underneath, and then after I get it in there as close as I can by hand, I'll use the tapping block. Be careful when you're using the tapping block not to hit the edge. You see on here there's a groove, so you want to put the block against the top of the vinyl and not damage the groove, because you're going to need the groove for the next row. So basically just take any piece of square wood, set it flat flush against the top, and then just use your rubber hammer and make it tight. I just measured out the water pipes here. Because the cabinet I'm going to make after, you're going to be able to see underneath. I want to make it as clean as I possibly can. So what I'm going to do is I've measured where the drain pipe is here, so I've just marked on either side to give it some clearance. Same thing with this hot water pipe, and then I just slide it up here beside it, and I can measure how far down I need it to go. So I need it to go this far down to get to the bottom of the pipe, and up here it's a little bit closer, so I can just measure here. So now I'll just, with my pencil, I'll make some tracing marks in my ruler here, and then I can just basically cut out these rectangles and push that piece in. It's all those little details. You don't have to do that, but I try to, because I find that those little details in the end add up. Now some of you might be thinking, isn't Eli wearing the same thing he was wearing yesterday? 1000%. Knee pads also have been really handy. When I'm on my knees this much, I like to wear knee pads. Still feels weird every time you go to break it. Like I secretly wonder, am I gonna wreck this? Go to your home, bud. Maybe you guys will be faster at snapping these in than I am, and it will take you half as long. Give this another tippity tap, taparoo. Oh yeah, money in the bank. Shorty, what you drank?
Got money in the bank. Yeah. Shout out what you drank. I got money in the bank. Yeah. Shout out what you drank. I got money in the bank. Yeah. Shout out what you drank.
Okay, another row done. Woo! Just doing it. Oh, hello. So I moved the camera so you can see what's going on here. This is the problem. You see we have about a 4-inch gap here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this board here and I'm going to measure it and cut out a chunk so that I can slide it into here, and we still have a 1/4-inch gap there. I mean, you can measure it with a tape measure. That's one way to do it. I find the easiest way is just to mark it, because then I find them the most accurate and I don't have to deal with math, because I'm not great at math. I'm alright, but I'm not great. Well, I'm measuring for the wrong end. Obviously, we want it to cut in around here, but this has to be clicked into there, so that's not an accurate measure. So I flip this around here, and I put this against the shim. I know that I need this piece to go to about here. but on the opposite side. That's how long it needs to cut into. Now we need to figure out how far in. We don't want the tongue to throw us off. So I lined up the edge here, put my shim in, and marked it. Let's mark this again. Measure twice, cut once, as they say, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I think I'm gonna try and score this one. Let's see how that goes. I changed my mind. I think it's gonna be too hard to score it because it's hard to bend it. So I'm just gonna use my tool. Another row, looking good.
Winks.
I screwed that up, but hopefully I can fix that somewhere else. Here's how I screwed it up. I was like, oh, I wanted to use this little piece for the end, so like, I'll just cut a shorter middle piece. What I didn't think of is when you break it off, you lose one of the ends, right? You're either gonna lose this tongue part at the beginning, or you're gonna lose the nice foot that you click into. By breaking it off, I lost the groove here, so I can't put the tongue in, so I can't connect them. So that middle piece I just cut won't work. I will probably be able to reuse it later on in another row, but yeah, that was just a silly mistake. So there you go. Hopefully you don't make the same mistake as me. You can't put in a middle piece, basically. It's gotta be a full piece in the middle so that you have both ends to connect. When you're DIYing, you're gonna screw up. You're learning. So, yes, I f***ed that up. Okay, cool. How can I fix it? What can I do now? Just focus on that. If I quit every time I f***ed up, woo! I wouldn't get anything done. One thing I'm finding is it's easier to get them in the seams when I join these ones first. So line them up a hand, use the rubber hammer to lock in these two boards, then it's easier to get these really in well. Now, we don't want to have a piece that's less than 8. I'm not sure why you can't have pieces smaller than 8 inches, but I don't think I want to find out. It becomes a bit of a puzzle at this point. I'm just trying to maximize boards. I got about, I don't know, 4 or 5 rows left after this, and I'm on my last box. I'm just trying to be smart about it. Now this is where it gets interesting. I think I want to keep going out into the hallway, so now I'm thinking maybe I don't want to cut these ones. Although I might have just screwed myself. I didn't go around the door frame very well. Give me a minute. I don't know what I'm doing. I gotta figure this out. If you're like me, sometimes you just gotta call a friend. Or somebody. In my case, it's often my Uncle Bob or Chatty. In this case, it was Chatty. And he was able to talk me off the ledge a little bit and give me some good ideas. You see, I got stuck. I'm like, do I make this flow out into the hallway or do I put a transition in? Flowing was the original plan and it would look really cool, but it comes down to being realistic and time. I don't have that much time before I have guests coming in next, and I need to get this done. And I could get this bathroom done here today. Or I could try to do the flow thing, but it's gonna stretch on, and I don't wanna bite off more than I can chew because I'm really good at that. So I think in this case, the smart move is to just finish this bathroom, put in a transition. He's right. There's already gonna be some other bedrooms where a transition is gonna be. So why am I killing myself to try to flow it when there's gonna be transitions anyways? That's gonna be weird. See, Chatty? You're right. Sometimes you just need somebody with a fresh perspective, or somebody smarter than you are. In this case, Chatty is both. So if you get stuck, get an Uncle Bob. Or a Chatty. In most cases, they are smarter than me. Let's get this bathroom floor done. Move on with our lives.
Okay, I'm working on a Wednesday, then up again the next day. So-and-so is popping, man, I skip him like he leg day. Kick it like I'm Pele, I never care what they say. Put myself on Spotify, so every day my pay.
Remember when we first started this and I said, hey, plan out the floor and measure so that when you get to the end, you don't end up with like a super small piece because it just makes it way harder? Yeah. If you take a look down here, you will see I have about a 1 inch gap that's going to be at the end. No problem. Now we just have to kind of MacGyver something. On top of the gap, I also might be 1 board short. Sweet. Here's the plan. I'm lucky that I have 1 scrap piece here that has the right tongue on it that I need. I have 2 boards left here, so I'm going to cut the 1 board to fit here for that row. Between these 2 boards, I'm going to have to rip them down to fit in that 3/4 of an inch at the back. When you do this, really double check when you're measuring to make sure that this isn't the case. I think this is going to be a table saw kind of job, so we're going into overtime. So I just measured the vent hole, just marked on either side, mark it here with my square, and cut it out with whatever the hell this tool is called. Use the cutter thing to cut through it. Cutter thing, check. Alright, that's good. Not sure how well you can see this, but I've traced on the vent here. So I'm gonna cut this out with the mystery Ryobi tool. Then, because it's gonna be hard to get that last little piece in, I'm gonna try to rip those pieces, click them in, and then click them the whole thing at once. I think that's gonna be easier than trying to maneuver a 1/2 inch piece and get it in the groove. That's gonna be tricky. Looks pretty good. Let's go give it a try. Well, that's it. The floor is done. And it turned out pretty good. Sure, I screwed up, but that's pretty par for the course. And I was able to fix it in the end, so it was fine. The great thing about DIY and doing it yourself is the feeling at the end when you're like, hey, maybe I can do this. So hopefully this inspired you to do some DIY of your own. Or maybe you learned something, maybe you didn't. But I hope it was helpful to somebody. So if you don't mind, I'm just gonna shut it down here. It's about 12:30 my time and I gotta get up early and do my day job. So usually I sleep closer to the toilet, but thanks for watching DIY with that Eli guy. This is Eli signing off. Until next time. Keep it classy, people. Keep it clean. Sometimes I don't even shower anymore. I just vacuum.